Welcome back to the People of Penn State podcast. I'm Katie Farnan with the Penn State Alumni Association. Today, I'm joined by Tom Mosser, owner of Tom Mosser Design and the Lucas Paul LLC. Tom graduated in 1982 with a degree in arts and architecture, and his career spans murals, illustrations, and portraiture. His viral museum series featuring dogs admiring paintings of floating tennis balls changed his life. He's here today to tell us about that series and more. Tom, welcome to the People of Penn State podcast.
Thanks, Kate. It's great to be here.
We're so excited to have you today.
I'm excited to be here.
Wonderful. So you and Penn State go way back. You have a long history together. Tell us a little bit about that.
I do. It goes back to my birth because my parents met at Penn State. And so I'm a Penn State pureblood. They met at a fraternity party. And years later, I was a fraternity brother at Phi Kappa Theta. And it was right down the street from where they met. And every time I'd walk to class, I'd look up and say, that's why I'm here at the Delta Phi Delta house. Or I forget what house it was. But yeah, I was, both my parents went to Penn State. My sisters went to Penn State. Quickly, when I went to school, I started doing illustrations for the Penn State Sports Information Office, doing media guide covers and football program covers. And I worked all 4 years for the Daily Collegian, doing graphics and illustration and editorial cartoons. So I pretty much soaked up the college experience. It's funny, like every time you put on a Penn State cap or a Penn State hoodie, a little part of you is back at school. Time flies, but yeah, Penn State's still continues to be a huge part of my life for sure.
So without Penn State, we would not have Tom. So this is a very important note.
That's right. Yeah. My wild parents meeting at a party. No, they met and they are very nice people there.
It's a great story. We love to hear those stories. So you were really involved when you were here. Can you tell us a little bit more about the activities that you were involved in?
Like I said, I was in a fraternity my last 2 years. I was a cheerleader my senior year. I was in the Parmenou affiliation group. So I was really involved. I really did soak up the experience. So I definitely I tried out for cheerleading just to meet girls. I didn't know that I would actually be picked on a squad. So that was just a really great experience to be on a football field and in front of all those people. And it was funny, like to be up so close to football players and to be, 80,000 people in the stands and look up close, and they were just college kids. They were just bigger than me. So that was a really great experience. So 2 years in the dorm life and 2 years in a fraternity life, it was a good split for me.
You got to see all of the facets of Penn State life, right?
Yeah. I mean, I was a dormie and I was a frat guy. It was cool. And it was, my parents couldn't have been happier. I grew up 30 miles away from State College in a town called Huntington, Pennsylvania. So I was very much a local as well. So I live in Pittsburgh now. So I make it to State College quite a bit.
It's a great place to visit and come back to.
Yeah, it's a great
and
place
see
to
all
visit.
of the changes, right?
Yeah, there's a lot of changes, but there's a little core of you when you pull into Beaver Avenue, you start driving into town. There's a lot of the buildings that are still the same, and all of a sudden you're like 19 again. It's wild. And you
the nostalgia element, and
you start acting like it too. But it's very, very true. There's like a calming aspect, and you kind of reach back to that feeling you had when you were at school. Just how simple life was, just the pressures of studying and what have you. But those 4 years where they went really fast, but they're still there once you visit town for sure.
Takes you right back.
It takes you right back. It really does. Like your core and just walk. I mean, back then when you're walking back from the arts and architecture school after class and walking back to my dorm or past the creamery. I lived in East Halls, or to the fraternity house. You didn't have headphones. You didn't have a phone. You were just daydreaming, and you were just looking around and people watching and admiring the campus. And you were just like into your head. And I think you really could soak it up that way because you were observing everything.
Yep. Fully immersive experience.
Yeah, fully immersive.
So after graduation, you only ever had what you call one real job, and it was a pretty cool one. So tell us about that.
It was pretty cool in putting my degree to interesting use. So I had a job offer with the Sporting News magazine. Back in the day, magazines were big, and Sporting News and Sports Illustrated were the top magazines, and it was going to be a dream job for me. And I got a phone call from my sister, and she said the Pittsburgh Pirates are having auditions for their pirate parrot mascot. He said, you have to do this. My parents were theater people. They did community theater. So they were always rehearsing for musicals, and I was kind of a showboat. So I said I was going to do it for the experience of it. And I went through the cuts, and son of a gun, they selected me to be the pirate parrot, which is actually a giant Muppet. It was designed by a woman in New York who worked for Sesame Street. I didn't know I'd do it that long, but I did it for 8 years. I had a big studio in the south side of Pittsburgh, so I needed to get better as an artist. And I really wanted to experience a very unique portion of life, to be able to perform in front of 50,000 people in a big costume. And it was funny, like during the playoffs and way back in 1992, during that whole season, I started bringing big signs to the games, and we did a "We Are Pittsburgh" cheer, borrowing "We Are Penn State," and it was amazing to get 50,000 people to do it, and it was very much inspired by Penn State. In fact, I was at a cheerleading meeting, when they said, "Hey, we've got this new thing we're going to do. We're going to start leading "We Are Penn State" cheers," and that was the first time that was introduced. So that was wild. But yeah, I did it for 8 years. I traveled to Europe like four times to perform, and all around the country performing. And I got a lot of free time. Some artists and actors, they wait on tables to make ends meet. I jumped around in a bird suit. So it still lives with me. I still have friends who work for the Pirates, and I still look for freebie tickets when I can.
Well, you're right there, so you might as well, right?
I've hugged more kids and more people, and I think I figured out the thousands of pounds of weight that I lost over the time. But I got it because I was a pretty good dancer, and that was my forte. And the field was this AstroTurf awful field, so I could ride around this four-wheeler and do tricks and pop wheelies and go on two wheels. So it was different now. The field is PNC Park, it's grass, it's like whole hallowed ground. You can't do something like that. So I could just trash the place. It was awesome.
Sounds like a dream job, honestly.
Yeah, I had full access to everyone in the stadium, to the team owners, to the PR people, the ticket people. I just went through the front offices, with my regular clothes on, but I knew every part of the stadium at Three Rivers, and it was just a wild experience. I still have a little PTSD from it, thinking of forgetting there was a home game, and I'm like an hour late. But
oh well, it happens.
It happens,
So let's start to get into your artist career. How did that kick off for you?
Well, if you want to go back to when I was 5 years old or whatever, no, I was just something. My dad was an advertising director. He was very artistic, and like I said, my parents were community theater people, so they encouraged their kids if they wanted to go into the arts, that they were going to do it. They wouldn't know exactly how to influence that, but they had full permission to explore their creativity. And I just, all through high school and junior high, I was just a kid who just loved to draw. I like sports and being outside, and I like to draw. And again, it was simpler times. You had 3 TV stations that you watched and PBS, and you had to be creative with your time, play games. And I just loved to draw, and they just kept feeding me with sketch pads, and it kind of evolved to high school. And I went to Penn State as a fine arts major. But I knew I wanted, back then, illustration was really a big deal for magazines and newspapers and such. And so I had publications. So it's evolved, of course, since then. But so I did work for, working with clients and art directors throughout college, which was great. Doing work for the Daily Collegian and the Sports Information Office. I was getting little checks throughout college. So I was kind of a professional artist back then. But then you would do fine arts work where you're just doing paintings for art galleries, or you're holding your thumb to a painting and say, "This is my work. I do creative stuff." So there's fine art, and then there's commercial art. So I was kind of doing both. And I worked for a little company called Happy Valley Promotions at school. They started. I did a lot of football publications, and I did T-shirt designs for Penn State dorms to get by. You do a lot to get by in art. So, but it was always in me. It was always what I was going to do, is to be an artist and make a living at it. And then, except for jumping around in a bird suit, which was incredibly creative, I really haven't had any other job.
And you designed some of the football programs as well when you were a student, right?
I did. I probably did like 8 maybe. So that was an amazing thrill to go over to the games and see people, a college kid, and see people carrying their programs around. There was my color.
You're like, I did that actually.
I did that. I made a little money too. I forget what they paid me, but I would have done it for free. And it was, the Daily Collegian was a big time newspaper then, and it was a big paper. And like every morning you wake up in the dorm and somebody would brought a stack of papers from the cafeteria and laid them in the lobby. And if I had a big illustration that was going to be in that day, I was so excited. I'd grab a paper. And there was a lot of advantages to a lot of opportunities with art for publications like that, and I took advantage of it for sure.
So before we get into your signature piece, which is behind you back there with your dog,
yeah, it is. Yep.
Let's talk about some of your earlier work, like your mural at the Prudential Center, which is actually the largest interior mural.
It is. It's a woman named Tracy Specka started a company called Sports and the Arts, and her idea was to curate sports arenas. And I met her because of a business card. My old roommate from Pittsburgh, Ben Boma, who's very much involved with Penn State hockey right now. He's a big time Penn Stater. He gave her a business card at a charity event in Arizona, a golf event, and she reached out to me. And just by complete coincidence, her first gig was curating the Prudential Center Arena in Newark, the home of the New Jersey Devils. And she said, "You're going to be doing a whole bunch of paintings and this and this and that. And there's going to be this mural." And I remember the first time I went to see it, it was like 7:00 in the morning. I had a 5 a.m. flight from Pittsburgh to Newark. And it was this monstrosity, this giant wall. And she said, "Yeah, this is going to be your mural that you're going to do." And I had like 50 other pieces to do it. And that was back in 2007. So that was a very busy summer. So the mural took about just under 2 months to complete. And I had a team of 3 artists from Brooklyn. And the design process took about 4 months, but it got approved. And it was a great, great project for me. It was kind of like combining illustration background, working with art directors and a committee, and also, fine art. We were painting on a giant wall, and there's no solid color on the mural. It's all brush strokes, and it came out really well. It was incredibly exhausting. I think I had 4 all-nighters and one 48-hour shift on it. So it was like a fun weekend at Penn State back in the day, but yeah. And it was very life altering. And I have yet to go back to it and see it. I'm going to go to an event this spring, and I'm going to see it for the first time since we finished.
That's going to be an amazing experience, I'm sure, to see it in the flesh for real for the first time.
It was. I was one night at 3 a.m. I was the only person in the building. I was working an all-nighter shift. I'm on this 40-foot scissor lift, and I look down and I see a couple guys in overalls, and I didn't know what they weren't wearing hard hats. And as it turned, and then I looked back and they were gone. And somebody told me that, the building's haunted. And I said, "Oh, really? I saw the guys."
Thanks for the warning, everyone.
That was my little ghost story from it. But I looked right at these guys. It was bizarre. But yeah, it was, when you make a mural, you go square by square. You make a big grid on a wall, and it makes it simpler. So it's kind of like life. You just you have a big project, you just go square by square, and it all comes together as one. And yeah, that was, you could look it up. You could look it up on YouTube, Prudential Center Arena and Tom Moss. You'll see a nice little 2-minute video about the creation of it. It's really nice. Yeah.
So then in 2013, your piece that's titled "A Golden Retriever at the Museum," which you can see in the back there, went viral.
Right.
And
it's right in the middle, right there, that guy right there.
It's said to be one of the most shared pieces on art on the internet. Tell us about the inspiration.
It is.
The aftermath, all of that.
An acquaintance of mine works for Facebook told me that. Now I don't know if it's true or not, but he said, "You did that?" I said, "Yeah." It's just a painting that I created of my golden retriever Lucas, and I thought, what would Lucas be enamored with? I just did it for fun of it. What would Lucas be enamored with if he was in an art museum? What kind of painting? What kind of subject matter? It was either squirrels, sticks, or tennis balls. And yeah, so I just set up quickly. I set up my tripod and my camera, and I set the self timer, and I set him in front of it with his back to the camera, seated. And I held a couple of treats for him, and I did the self timer. And with the third picture, I nailed it. I just wanted to see the tip of his nose, and I sketched it out. It got big, immediate notice on my little social media platforms. And I finished the painting in like 8 hours, and then I had other boring projects I had to work on. And it went viral 4 months later. On the New York Art Gallery posted it, and it just exploded. It was everywhere. And we said, on this particular size of the painting, we're going to have limited edition prints of it. And I thought maybe we'd sell like 5 or 6 a year, because they were expensive. They were like $500 a piece. But we were going to donate $100 to the Animal Rescue League of Pittsburgh. Son of a gun, they sold out in 5 weeks to people all over the world. And we cut a check for $10,000 to the Animal Rescue League, and I made money. We all made money, and it was because of a fun painting of my dog, and it's changed my life. It's changing my life today, talking about it. Now there's a whole series of follow-ups. There's 2 golden retrievers at the museum, 3 golden retrievers at the museum, chocolate lab at the museum, French bulldog, German shepherd at the museum. And so I work out. We sell prints, a whole variety of different sizes, but we also reach out to various rescue groups, and we donate prints to help them raise funds. So it's a total win-win situation. And it's because of a fun little painting of my dog. Now, I could have thought of that idea when I was in college. You don't have to be a certain age, but I'm glad I finally thought of it. But sometimes the best ideas are like right in front of you, or on the end of a leash, right? And they're right there sitting in front of you. Sometimes you just have to open your mind to let them come in and then act on them.
Little did Lucas know he was going to become a star that day.
Yeah. I think that somebody said I was giving a commencement speech in my old high school, in Huntington area high school, and somebody was having a coffee with a friend of mine, and he said, Mosser, you're going to be molding these young kids' lives. You're going to be inspiring them. What's going to be, kind of messing with me. And he said, what's going to be the one word that's going to encapsulate your speech? And I said, I have no idea. And then I thought, well, that's it. Idea. That's the most important word. Everything we do is an idea. Every sentence we form is an idea. Every movement on the basketball court or on a volleyball court is based on a series of ongoing, repetitive, quick fire ideas. Ideas are the fuel that power creativity, and we just have to give ourselves permission to acknowledge our ideals and collect them, and most importantly, act on them, and then think of more and reboot. Idea. It comes down to that one word, idea.
And you never know where it's going to lead, clearly.
You don't know what's going to lead. There's tons of paintings that I've done, big abstracts or what have you, that I've given away as gifts or what have you, or I've kept them that didn't make me a nickel. And it's not about making money all the time, but it's when you do a painting just for the fun of it, to kind of celebrate your dog, and it takes off. And it was a real testament to the power of tennis and the power of the canine world. It's truly global. People love their dogs. And what I do on the prints is that I paint on the dog collars. People will send me photographs of their dog collars, and I will try to emulate them by literally painting on the print, so that dog in the painting transforms into their dog, which is a really cool thing. I love doing it. I don't charge anything extra for it. It's really fun to do.
That's a nice touch, so that they
really
have
nice touch,
that personal, that connection. So you actually created a lion at the museum. A piece of art is also behind you back there.
It is by convenience. It's brought there. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. It's actually almost finished. It shows the Nittany Lion at Art Museum looking at a painting of the whiteout. And it's I've got licensing approval with Penn State to create work based on the paintings that I create with painted footballs, the football impressionism. But I will go through with Penn State to get official licensing approval for this painting. So hopefully they go for it.
I think it would be a big seller. I think I know a lot lot of people who would go.
Yeah.
For it.
Oh man, there's a lot of pom-poms in this painting. Let me tell you.
How long did that one take?
Yeah. I don't count. I don't know. It was a long time. Yeah. You don't punch in a meter. You're usually working on a few things at the same time. But in fact, in the photograph of me with the that's actually the World Cup logo. They kind of borrowed Penn State's We Are theme. But speaking of ideas and Penn State, I was playing beach volleyball here in Pittsburgh at a park, sand volleyball, and I noticed the volleyball rolling in the sand that left the perfect imprint of the volleyball. And I thought, oh, I can use that because of the stadium work that I do for sports and the arts. A lot of times I have to do creations of giant basketball players or football players or landscape paintings, but I also do a lot of logo treatments. So I saw this volleyball leave a perfect imprint, and light bulb moment. I went to a sporting goods store and I bought a bunch of footballs and basketballs, and I went to my studio and I painted them. I rolled them, and it leaves a perfect imprint of the football and basketball. You see the laces, the dimples, the little air pump hole. And I started creating logo stencils in secret. You create a stencil really big, you roll the painted football or basketball over it, and you peel it back, and there's the perfect logo. And I started selling and creating them and selling them in State College at a couple galleries, and that also has changed my life. And I have licensing approval now with Penn State to sell reproductions of this art involving the Penn State logo created. What better way to celebrate Penn State hockey than with a logo painting and created with hockey pucks and skates and sticks, or Penn State football for Penn State football. So ideas could be on the sand of a volleyball court.
You never know where you'll find them.
I know. It's like, just allow yourself to look at that and say, what can I do with that? That's pretty cool.
And you were working on the hockey one recently. Were you predicting a Frozen Four for men's?
No, it's amazing. It's amazing. No, it was great serendipity. I literally shipped the painting to Pagula to the team like 10 days ago, and it was created I worked with Ben Boma, who's a real big backer of the hockey team. He used to play hockey at Penn State when it was a club sport, and he was in the group photo of all the guys on the ice after they won. You can see his head sticking up back there, but it was great timing. I think my painting is proved to be good luck for the team.
I would say so. And it's a perfect little gift when they came back from Allentown, right?
Yeah.
It's
not so little. It's like 8 feet by 6 feet. So they're going to put it in a
perfect large gift.
Yeah. So if you came into my studio, you'd see me with a golden retriever running around, my dog Franco, and you see this guy painting hockey skates and scraping it along the wall on canvas with rolling a hockey puck and leaving an imprint of the hockey puck. It's pretty funny, but I don't think Picasso used hockey pucks to paint. I have that over on him, but
I think you're original for that.
Yeah.
You get to have that.
Yeah, there's a photograph of me working on a Saquon Barkley tribute, is number 26, using a Penn State football. And the hockey piece on the left, that was a Penguins piece, and it was created with hockey pucks and sticks and skates, so it's pretty cool.
Those are really cool. And great timing, like you said. You can't get better than that, right?
No, and they're fun to do. I mean, art should be fun, and I use paintbrushes. I use regular kind of paintbrushes. I'm ambidextrous, so I paint with both hands at the same time a lot. But it's also fun to think out of the proverbial creative box and look at a hockey puck. And you know what? The sides of a hockey puck leave an imprint. I could use this in a painting. And I did one for the wrestling team, a big logo piece, and with wrestling shoe imprints and handprints, and it worked out good for them too. So
yeah,
I'm
seriously.
a good luck charm.
So you mentioned you're ambidextrous, you're painting with both hands. How did you realize that you had that talent, or did it just kind of happen naturally?
I was a kid, and playing Little League. My right arm would get sore, my left arm would get sore, and I start using the other arm. There was one game I remember I was pitching, and I was a terrible pitcher, but this one game I pitched, I started throwing right-handed, and then a different batter came up who was left-handed, so I started throwing left-handed, and the umpire came out and said, whoa, you can't do that. My coach argued with him. Yeah, there's no, all right, go ahead. It just kind of made sense to me, especially like playing basketball. You have to learn to dribble and shoot with both hands to be most effective. So you have two arms. Why don't you use them? And you wrist and hands, and so I'll paint and draw left-handed, or paint and draw right-handed, or both hands at the same time. And it's kind of, especially when you use it when you're painting, especially the mural in New Jersey, I taught my team to paint with both hands at the same time. It's kind of like you're forming a third person, because I don't paint the same way as I do with one hand. When I'm using two hands, it's kind of like drumming. Mm-hmm. And I had drum lessons for like 2 months when I was in high school, and I was terrible at it. So, but I still had those drum lessons. And also, it takes the abuse off your arm. If you've got a big section of a painting that you're working on, use your opposite arm and let that arm do the filler. And so you don't get little tendinitises and such, and little injuries that might crop up, because being an artist is super physical. And anytime you get a little injury, you notice it too. So it was a creative portion of what I did, but it's also kind of an ergonomic thing. It just made sense for me. You got this other arm, use it. I mean, piano players use both arms and all their fingers and the foot pedals. So drawing and painting with both arms it's not hard. I encourage every artist of any age to do it in some capacity.
Probably saves you a little time too, right? You get
Yeah, it
double the work
does.
going at once.
Yeah, it really does. And I do like 10 years ago, I started doing a self-portrait every day. I wanted to do something artistic every day when I was doing things that were kind of boring. I wanted to be old school, like being at Penn State at art drawing classes. So I started doing a self-portrait every day. And some self-portraits I do left-handed, some I do right-handed. It switches things up. You see the world. You see the world differently with your left hand. Like my left hand is my Italian side. It's very curvy. My right hand is my German side. It makes the straight lines, So bring them both together and use all your attributes that you can.
And you used art for some advocacy projects. Can you tell us a little bit more about those?
Well, one 3 year during COVID, I was going to have a show in 2013. It was called Really Big Faces. It was going to feature about 15 6-foot tall portraits. a very modest title, Really Big Faces. It just sort of made sense. And the art show was going to happen on March 13th, 2020. If you remember that weekend, there was a bit of an issue with a shutdown from COVID. So throughout that summer, I just kept reaching out to people and asking if they wanted to pose to be part of the show, which I didn't know when was going to take place. So it was a great way to meet people and reach out to people because we were also isolated and separated. So I started creating more, and on social media, I would promote the people and what they were doing. I tried to feature, people that we're all affected by COVID, but I wanted to especially feature teachers and people in the medical field and such, and the law enforcement that were out there still working. And then 1 year passed, I kept making them, and then 2 years passed, I kept making them. I was up to 80. And finally, I had to I found a facility called the Energy Innovation Center in downtown Pittsburgh, and I raised money to pay for everything because it was a not for profit event. None of the paintings were for sale, and we had a show, and it was the most highly attended one artist show ever in Pittsburgh. I think 600 people came, so it was awesome, and it was one of the most fulfilling days of my life for sure. And seeing people pose. Being asked to pose with their giant portraits, and each portrait had a big poster mounted to each painting that I designed that had photographs and a bio of each person. So it wasn't just a painting of a giant portrait of a person with purple hair or what have you. It was also had a mounted poster so to celebrate each person. People, you could walk by and you could read the posters. You might have read in the news where in Pittsburgh, Marc Fogel was a Pittsburgh teacher who was wrongfully detained in Russia for 3.5 years. And I was reading an article about him 2 years ago. And as I was reading, I saw that Sasha Phillips was the name of his family attorney. Well, Sasha Phillips is a friend of mine. She was one of my subjects in the Really Big Faces show. So I reached out to her and I said, hey, I'm going to do a really big face portrait of Marc Fogel. I'm going to put it out there on social media. Let's get some attention. And I did it, and it came out really nice. But I wanted to do more. And I said, let's put together an art show and maybe we can get 20 artists if we can gather that. And we'll all do some kind of artwork related to Marc Fogel's plight to bring some attention via the media, to bring attention to his plight and help out his family and help out Sasha. And so we, son of a gun, within 3 weeks, we had 90 people who volunteered to create art in under 4 weeks. And we reached out to and we turned away 30 more artists. We just didn't have time. And we reached out to Energy Innovation Center. Again, we raised like $20,000 to pay for everything, for the catering and the food and the music and such. And to bring awareness to Marc. And it was just incredibly gratifying to see the incredible work of sculpture and photography and paintings that people created to celebrate Marc. And it was a way of putting all of Marc Fogel's, his family and friends in one room too. And it kind of galvanized a movement with them. And it started, there was a rally that summer in Washington, D.C. There was a huge letter writing campaign. Last January, I put together another follow-up. I said, let's get 50 artists together to create a section and create a giant portrait of Marc. And kind of like the mural in New Jersey, go square by square. I assigned squares to all 50 artists. Within 5 days, the 50 people created something. We put it together and we had a big unveiling. And we scheduled an unveiling for it. and he was released that week. And so his unveiling became a celebration. And so it was just a hugely gratifying two events, the Mike and Marc art show and this 50 artist collaboration, and got lots of media attention. They sent all these links from all the media stories were sent to senators, and it really, I think it added a lot of artistic pressure to shine a spotlight on Marc's plight. And today, by a matter of fact, it was announced officially that he is going to throw out the ceremonial first pitch at the Pirates home opener on Friday. So he's going to walk onto the pitcher's mound in Pittsburgh, and he's going to throw out the first pitch, and it's going to be really, really amazing to see. The week before that he was released, I thought there might be a chance, and I reached out to the Pirates and I nominated him to throw out the first pitch, and he's back, and he's going to throw out the first pitch. It's going to be awesome.
That's amazing. And it's incredible the things that art can do, the impact that art can have on people, and it means something different to everyone. So it's also nice to be able to see. It's got to be amazing to see your own work kind of having that impact on people and their lives.
Yeah, and it was a community of people that came together, who wanted to come together, who never met him. I've never met him. I might meet him on Friday, and to have this beginnings of having maybe we could get 20 people to participate. And I put the word out on social media after I got permission from the family, which is a little kind of scary. Like, am I doing the right thing? Am I overstepping my bounds? This is a very serious thing. A man is imprisoned in Russia. And to have 90 people reach out and say, I'm in. And my wife, Mara, was my backbone on it, and Sasha Phillips, to raise the money and keep track of all the checks and the PayPal payments and the Venmo payments, and to have this one night show and have it started all day. It was like noon to 9 o'clock at night at the Energy Innovation Center, and to have over 1,000 people come was remarkable. And it was the foundation of it was art and artists coming together. And
it all paid off, right?
It really paid off. It really
Full
did.
circle moment this Friday.
Yeah,
it's going to be amazing to see. It
really created, people in media need a hook, and artists can provide that hook with visuals. People are drawn to visuals, and we're inundated with visuals all the time on our phones, on our computers, scrolls going past. You really have to work hard to get people's attention. And having 90 artists collaborate on a group art show for no money, nobody was selling their work, was a great story, and it was a great story featuring a terrible story, and now it has a really positive ending and a beginning for Marc. That's incredible. It was great. It was great. And I an hour ago I got the official notice that he was going to throw out the first pitch. It's a very big deal to do that. Well, perfect timing for today's show, right? Yeah, perfect timing. So what are you working on now? What's the latest project, if you can share it with us? Oh yeah, I could share it. Besides finishing up the Lion at the museum, literally I have that's Chocolate Lab at the museum right there. That's a painting that's under construction. It's almost done. I have French Bulldog at the museum. I have German Shepherd at the museum. I have Toy Collie at the museum. What else I got Boston Terrier at the museum. All those paintings are going to be unveiled and released, and we have the print series, and our collaborations with charity groups are going to come out this week. And again, working on a whole series of paintings involving Penn State logos created with footballs and basketballs and hockey sticks because of the licensing approval. So I'm working on that to get that out this summer. I'm working on also clothing related to the theme. Like if you have a shirt that's striped with a little Penn State logo, well, this Penn State logo will still be there, but it'll be football patterns and basketball patterns on the clothing. So we're really excited about that to launch that. And I could have thought of that idea when I was in college too. I mean, look at all of this. Painted with basketballs. Why don't I think of that? I finally did. But great, you don't have to be 30, 40, 50, 60 years old to have great ideas. You can have those ideas are right in front of you when you're 18 to paint logos with footballs and basketballs. So I'm glad nobody did. So I did, but I'm willing to share it too. So
We might have to put an official word for some Penn State Alumni Association merch with the,
Yeah.
with the
I
patterns on it.
can hook you up.
Amazing. Can't wait.
Yeah, I can hook you up.
All right. So we like to wrap things up with a very quick lightning round of Penn State related questions. Are you ready?
All right, let's do it.
Your favorite creamery flavor?
Oh, the peanut butter for sure.
That was easy. Great job.
Yeah. I walked past it. The Arts and Architecture room to East Halls was right past the creamery. I had so much ice cream. So,
very dangerously placed right up there, right?
Right,
Like
very dangerous. Turned into solid muscle, though, as you can see. So
exactly. What Penn State sport are you buying tickets for first? I know you love sports, but which is the top of your list?
Well, it would be football. Now it's gonna be hockey. I've yet to see a hockey game, and I gotta go. Ben's been wanting me.
I mean, now's the time, right?
I gotta go. I'll go next year for sure. I'm so excited.
Your favorite class or professor or both while you were in college?
My professor at his name was Steve Schneider, I think. He was it wasn't art related. He was a history professor, American history, and sometimes he would just sit down in the small classroom and he'd take his watch off his wrist and he'd look at it and he'd put it on the desk and he'd sit on the desk in front of the little classroom and he would say, "I'm not going to test you on this. I'm just going to talk about the Civil War. I have some great stories to tell." And it was just so captivating. It was like watching a Ken Burns audio documentary. He was so good. And I forget the professor's name. There's another one. We called it G-Sci 20, Geology 20. We called it Rocks for Jocks. A great teacher. He made geology so much fun, and he was hilarious. Theater 190. That was awesome.
You have a lot there, Tom.
Yeah, that was 3. So, yeah, wow, that's pretty good. Those are great classes.
What was your favorite local restaurant in State College from the past or now? Which one are you going to stop by when you're back in town?
The tavern.
Tavern.
And growing up 30 miles away, that was like a big deal. My parents would take me to State College to the tavern, and we'd go to Uncle Eli's to buy art supplies. So one of the best art supply stores around, Uncle Eli's. But yeah,
full circle moment right there.
Yeah.
Right?
Unfortunately, a couple of the best restaurants are no longer there. But there was a restaurant called the Train Station, and it was a great restaurant that had pretzels with the amazing homemade State College made mustard, and they had a train yard was the outdoor bar in the back. It was iconic.
And last but not least, who would be your dream Penn State dinner guest?
Oh, right now, I would like to talk to the kid who what's his name? Who scored the winning goal last week to send them to the Frozen Four.
We'll have to hook up the conversation here. This is our
I saw him interviewed on a local Pittsburgh sports talk show, and just the feeling of just like in the struggle and you're fighting and all this desperation, and it all could end sadly at any moment, and to like hit a shot and boom, it goes in and your life's changed.
Yes.
And your whole university is affected by it. And just that moment, that feeling, I would love to like sit and have a coffee and talk to him about. I can have him work on a painting too. He could be good with skates.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Have him just like skate on top of the kid.
I know.
It'll be great.
I like your art supplies, I would say. What do you mean art supplies? Your skates. I can do something with those.
Perfect.
True. I know.
All right, Tom. Well, thank you so much for joining us today and sharing so much of your story and your art. It was incredible to learn so much more about it, and good luck with the rest of the pieces you're making. We're excited to see the collaboration with Penn State and what comes out of it.
Yeah, I'm really excited too. Thanks, Katie.
Thanks.
We are.
Penn State. Thank you, Tom, for joining us today and sharing his art with us. If you're interested in purchasing his work or checking out more, you can go to his website at tommosserdesign.com. For everyone watching or listening, we hope you'll join us next time. Find us where you get your podcasts, rate, review, and subscribe so you never miss an episode. Special thanks to our guest relations coordinator, Abrielle Clark, and producer Vincent Lungaro for their work on this episode. We are.